Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to At Home with Hayley. Happy New Year to you all. It's great to see you all online. I can see you coming through. I hope that you all had a wonderful Christmas time and a very, very happy New Year. And you've all hit the ground running and you're all here now. So that's fantastic as well. If you could pop in the chat box that you can hear me loud and clear, that would be perfect. And then we'll get on with the show. Good morning, Mike. Happy New Year to you as well from Helsingborg, so Sweden. Guys, let us know where you're coming in from. Alan, who is our guest today, has not been on this show before, so we've got a treat for you today. Let's let him know how many different countries from around the world we have listening in today. Right, okay, so I can see you all coming through. I can see that you can all hear me loud and clear. I'm going to jump on and get started. So this week we have a wonderful guest. We're going to go easy on him. It's his first time with us, but we have a lovely guy called Alan Webb. And he has been in the industry now since 2009. He is a property investor and portfolio landlord, and he also has multiple other businesses as well. And that's what he's here today to talk to you about. He's going to be talking to you about his virtual property tours, which we know that has been very, very useful over the pandemic period and become more and more popular over the last few years. And also another business that he has, which is property matchmakers. And this business is going to match developers with the right type of finance. So finance for our development projects. So very, very useful topics. So Alan, are you there?
Hayley, yeah. Happy New Year to you.
Hello and welcome. Happy New Year. Did you have a good one?
Yeah, it was quite relaxed. Managed to stay clear of you know what, and
you can't say the C word.
No, absolutely. So we ought to ban it, really, shouldn't we? So,
we should. It's almost like the Harry Potter and Voldemort. You're not allowed to say it. Right. Okay. Fantastic. So it's great to see you again. So while I load your slides, do you want to just give a very, very short introduction to those of, well, actually nobody knows you on the call. So let people know who you are and a little bit about yourself and what you're here today to talk about as well.
Yeah, so based in Birmingham in the West Midlands in England, and yeah, as you say, I've been investing since 2009, and things have evolved a little bit over that time. So a bit more in the slides. So I don't want to overdo it, really. So
awesome. Okay, so you have control of the slides.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm going to pop off camera, but I'm here if you need me. So over to you, Alan.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Hayley. Yeah. So my name's Alan Webb, known as the property matchmaker. I'll just give you a little bit of background. I don't want to bore you too much with it, especially as my background was in IT, which it's not everybody's cup of tea. Started as a trainee program and sort of carried on doing that for quite a long time. I mean, this is the impression that a lot of people will get if you've ever watched the IT crowd on TV. And actually, I've got to say there's a fair bit of truth in that impression. But we're not all geeks, so hopefully I won't be too boring today. Stop me if I am. So yeah, worked at some well-known companies, Cadbury's, Bass the Brewers. So yeah, the fringe benefits there were very good. Cheap chocolate, cheap beer, not very good for the waistline, to be fair, but good places to work for. So probably, I guess, like maybe a lot of people listening today, did a career which it was successful, but I think felt that I wanted to do something else, really, and so again, maybe like a lot of people, I read a book, many of you will have read this book. Actually, this wasn't this wasn't my first book that got me into property, although I did read it much later on, and you know, I did find it really, really useful. But it was another book, Money for Nothing and Your Property for Free. You know, I mean, what a title, eh? That's a great title, and it really got me interested in property. However, 5 years later, 6 years later, on the guy was bankrupt. So maybe it wasn't the best book to start with. But in truth, it did introduce me to property and explain some important principles. So that was kind of the intro for me. And back in, it was 2008, about April 2008, I started doing a property course. I'd been going to a lot of seminars. I think we all probably, you know, we can associate with that. You're going to seminars, you're trying to put your toe in the water a little bit, find out a bit more about property and what it's all about. And I was umming and ahhing about it. And I started the property course, like I say, then, just as the financial crash came along and the property market dipped. And so actually, as it happened, I started to buy fairly close to the bottom of that dip, if you can see it. I was quite lucky in that respect. I was say, don't mention this to Hayley. I probably shouldn't have this slide on it even. If she's helping you on your property journey, then you know, maybe it's not the best advice. But for once, it actually worked, and I got properties with my property partner at good prices. So today, and really, I just wanted to share with you what I am doing today, and possibly you know, how it could help you. So here we are, day to day. It's kind of summary. You know, this is what I'm spending my time doing. So the properties that I've bought, they're all pretty much single lets. Did have one HMO. Well, even if you can call it HMO, it was a 3-bed masonette, and it turned out into a bit of a nightmare, and it put me off HMOs. But I know it shouldn't really have done, because I know a lot of you out there will have very successful HMO portfolios, but probably just not for me, really. And then I was doing so much networking with both property network meetings and general business network meetings. And I was finding people on both sides of the fence, people with deals, that there might have been accountants or people from different backgrounds, really, quite honestly. And they had deals, but ironically, they didn't have the investors to buy those deals. So I was matching the deals with investors, and that worked okay, but I found that a lot of deals didn't actually happen for lots of reasons, and one of it being investors couldn't always get the finance they wanted. So the property matchmaker.co.uk, that has evolved. Sorry, Hayley, shouldn't be advertising. That has sort of evolved, really, and become more about matching up finance. So particularly with equity, so cash investors, and I'll come on to that a bit in a little while. Trading options. Maybe some of you will have dabbled with the stock market, I suspect, whether it's simply buying stocks and shares or whether it's actually trading. And specifically, I learned a couple of years ago about trading options, and again, I'll touch on that. And then finally, 360-degree, if I can say it, virtual property tours came about really in summer of 2020 when we were in partial lockdown, and it just struck me really as something that's going to be very useful, both for my own properties and potentially for other people. And as a part-time photographer as well, it ticked the boxes of both property and photography. So let me just move on to the next slide. Excuse me. So matching property developers with the equity finance. So this, as I say, I work with quite a few different brokers, finance houses. This particular aspect of it, it's a way really to make deals happen or developments happen that might not happen otherwise. So, what we're doing here very often is you might have the senior debt in place, or you're looking for the senior debt, and via the contacts that I've got, I can help put together the cash. These tend to be they're investors who've made money in all sorts of fields, and sometimes it's just general high net worth individuals, family offices, and so on. They've got plenty of money. They like a bit of speculation, but they also want quite a good profit share, and that's the way they tend to work. So they're not interested in learning about what you're doing. So they're pretty, they're complete hands off, in fact. And there's a number of these funds which are set up for different areas of the country, with different criteria and so on. So yeah, they like the help to buy schemes in particular, because obviously it means that more and more a high percentage of the properties are likely to be sold. Suits either for planning or no planning in place. And I've got quite a good product, which is planning costs insurance scheme, as you can see. Typically, that's it might be about 15 to 20% as premium of what the planning costs might be. So if you've got something which it's going to cost a lot to get the planning approval, and maybe not even sure whether you're going to get it, it is worthwhile considering that. And also, as I say, the work with as profit share basis when they're supplying the money on top of the senior debt. So it will vary, but it's quite high, often as much as 50%. They're looking to share of the profit. But having said that, you've got a lot less hoops to jump through, and it can make deals happen that wouldn't otherwise happen. And it's not just houses and apartments, but it is other things like hotels and student blocks. Hopefully the student market is going to recover after all the problems that it's had over the last couple of years. And typically, $500,000. I've said 3 million there, but it's really the sky is the limit. But that's just a typical amount that the cash would be loaned, on top of whatever senior debt you might have. And also, it's not just new developments, but if you've got a big flip deal and you're trying to work out how to finance that, again, that could certainly appeal. And if there's a decent amount of profit in there, you can flip it on. The investors get their profit share, you make your profit share. Everybody wins. And just aside from the equity finance, there's quite a useful little product that that the one lender has got, which is bridging at 75% loan to value of the property, and then you've got a contribution there, 10% towards the refurb cost itself, and you can tie it in with a term, a normal buy-to-let product at the end, so that you've got an exit, and it's always good to have that on board right from the outset, so you know exactly where you are. And so moving on, again, I won't go into this too much because this is supposed to be specifically property presentation, but there are obviously ways of investing in property in different ways, and you can buy ETFs, exchange traded funds, and these are a little bit like REITs, real estate, investment trusts, but it's like a fund, but it differs from normal funds because you can buy these funds on the stock exchange at any time of the day, and also they've got the benefit that they're usually cheaper to run than regular funds, and so they come with a low ongoing fee. So a second way of generating money out of this is not by actually necessarily buying the funds, but trading options on them. So it gives you a chance to, effectively, you're like the insurance broker, and you're taking a premium when you sell another person the option to buy the funds. It's obviously sounded a little bit complicated. I probably haven't explained that very well, but it's something that I spend probably 10 minutes on a day. And that's about it. I check the signals that are described to us. There was a course that I did a couple of years back, as I say, and use those signals and then decide whether to try it or not. And it's as simple as that. And that's one of the reasons I like it so much. So, yeah, on to the 360, the virtual tours. And I think even before lockdown happened, they were starting to gain in popularity. And so really what happened just increased the usefulness of it. And as a photographer myself, I love photos, but having just photos, it's not quite as good as a presentation to your potential buyer or tenant as it could be. They can't really see how big it is, so there's no real sort of interactivity. They don't feel like they're there. They can't walk around the property, and this gives you the opportunity to allow your tenant or your buyer to do that. And because more and more people are using either virtual tours or videos, then you're up against that, and you will be even more so. And I'll just quickly explain, obviously, the difference between videos. You can use videos, which is fine, but the person who's looking at your video hasn't got the opportunity to look exactly where they want to look, and that's where it kind of loses out. And also the lighting typically on a lot of videos is not that great. So the problems from the agent's or the landlord's perspective, certainly back then and even now, really, to a certain degree, because of the restrictions, social distancing, all the rest of it, viewings were you know, a fair bit harder to do, and you know, it wasn't always great for tenants who were moving out. They didn't really want to have people coming in their homes, and I'm sure we've been there. We understand where they're coming from, and of course, you know, there's simply time and effort of going to viewings. We've often maybe been to a viewing as a landlord, and you turn up, and instantly the person who's coming to do the viewing, if they turn up at all, of course, they take one look, and you can tell they're not interested. You know, I had a lady come and look at one of my properties a few months ago, and she actually hated the wooden flooring, whereas a lot of other tenants really love it. So it's just horses for courses. But if she'd seen the video, and I didn't have a video available at that time, then, you know, it would never have happened. And it's issues of timing, you know, going outside of normal hours, and yeah, tidying up. I mean, that's maybe an issue more in my own mind. Certainly my own house, I have to try and keep that tidy. But, you know, if you're asking tenants to have to tidy up each time before the new tenants, prospective tenants are coming in, or whatever it might be, it's not great. Yeah, same from the other side, from the tenant or the buyer. Similar sort of issues, really. Time and effort to go and view the property, especially, of course, if they're coming from outside the area. You know, because if you're a tenant and you're thinking, yeah, I don't know about this, I'm not sure, is it going to be worth going up there? Then, if they can have a look at the video, and I say video, I tend to use video as a interchangeable with tour as well. Then, you know, it saves them time, but also encourages them to actually come to a physical viewing, whereas they might not do otherwise. And yeah, we all know photos can hide a lot. And so this really is the answer today, I think. 360-degree virtual property tours. Right, now this is where it gets interesting, because as Hayley and I discovered this morning, Webinar Jam has changed a bit. So I'm just going to try and turn the screen share on, and hopefully this is going to work. And I'm just going to go over to more video of that, more to it. Right, hopefully everyone can see that. Hayley, if you can't see that, yeah, okay, that's great. So as you can see, you can go into a property. There's navigation points around there, and so the viewer can decide exactly where they want to go. Can even go into the garden if they want to, and you can control where you go. You can put little information points on, just to say what that is. Don't necessarily want a picture of it. You've got navigation. So look, we won't go to the toilet, shall we? We won't do that live. Book upstairs. So this is the ensuite, and you can zoom in, zoom out with the mouse. So it's really up to you. And over here, there's on the bottom, you can put your social media, Facebook, Instagram, your own website, contact details, and so on and so forth. So I will just come out of that. So if I stop sharing, I'm just getting the mouse to respond. Right. Just let me go back.
I think what we need to do is stop the slide presentation.
Oh, okay.
and then I'll load it again for
All
you.
right, thank you.
Side. And then I think that should work.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Hayley.
Perfect.
Great. Right, it's okay. It's just, I think my mouse has just died, so I'll just, okay. So yeah, so more people can view from a wider area, and obviously, if you've got more people looking from all over the country or wider area, then you get higher rents and better sale prices. Systemize your business by sending out the virtual viewing to your prospective tenants or buyers, and check with them that it's what they're looking for before you actually go over there. And yeah, saves time, obviously. And I think, you know, the property we just saw on the virtual tour, serviced accommodation, you're going to get more bookings in my eyes, because people are less likely to have the opportunity to actually do a viewing. So if they're going to be there they might be there for a couple of months or a couple of days even, but either way, it works really, really well. And HMOs, it's good for that, because what you can do is you can set up sub tours, as we call it, and that will include all of the communal areas and an individual room. Because if you've rented out maybe half a dozen rooms, you don't want people necessarily to look in those rooms, especially if they're a better or a bigger room than the one you're particularly advertising at the moment. And yeah, the sooner people can make up their own mind and decide whether they want to do it, then it's great. And people often, especially with HMOs, once they've seen the virtual tour, they will book up straight away. And it's something that people tend to forget about. You know, when you're trying to go back to a lender and say, look, I've done all this work, it's uplifted the property price by X amount, how do you justify that? And by doing a before and after tour, you can either do two separate tours, or there is a way to combine both tours in one sort of video, and you're more likely to be able to get all your money back out. And yeah, you know, it does act as an inventory. I probably have an inventory as well, possibly, but it's a great way to back up your evidence. So I'm just checking how we're doing for time. I think
you're okay with time.
Yeah, I've got.
Don't worry about that. These guys are used to us going over, so you take all the time you need.
Well, I try not to bore everybody with the intricacies of the tour, but hopefully, if I just explain, you know, if you don't want to get someone like myself to do it, then I'm going to show you how to do it yourself. And it's not too difficult. You do need some basic equipment. You need the 360 camera, a special camera. I've got one here that I use. Hang on, that's it. It's just quite a small camera. A basic tripod, phone app, and that Dalek-looking creature icon. That's supposed to represent hosting. It's the platform really where you keep the virtual tours. So I've just shown you the camera I use. A lot of people are already aware of Matterport. They've heard of that, and you know, yeah, it's a great system, no doubt. But look at the price, nearly $4,000. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm too tight, but I didn't want to pay that for my tours, and so I looked around for alternatives. So there's various platforms. I'm not here to promote any particular one at all. I use Made Snappy, and I'll just sort of run through some very basics of how you use that. But I think it's it's pretty much the same sort of principle for any of them. So effectively, what you're doing is using this platform to create the tour, and you'll use again the software on the platform to stitch all the photographs together. And they have different pricing options, but there's no contracts. That's a good plus. And so the camera that I use, it's this Mi Sphere camera. You can buy this direct. You don't have to go through Made Snappy. You can find it on Amazon. Get a basic tripod. You don't want too big a tripod because otherwise it shows up in photos too much. The SD card, it just needs to be a high quality memory card. And that's pretty much most of it. As you can see, I think that price has actually gone up now with Made Snappy. I think it's 350 plus VAT. But you might be able to shop around and get it cheaper. So again, basic process. Set the camera up in the middle of the room. Leave the room. Now that might sound obvious, but even when you leave the room, sometimes if you're not careful, you can find yourself just in the shot, because the 360 camera does capture everything. So yeah, there was one or two early moments in the early days when I was caught on the edge of some pictures. So it's one of those. It's a bit of a learning curve. So you take your pictures in the property, upload them to the website. You can set up branding, link all the pictures together. And if you've got a CRM system, then you can put it in there as well. So just go through it a little bit more. Again, I won't try to explain it nitty-gritty because it's a bit too much. But yeah, set up the camera in the middle of the room, point the side, because it affects the exposure. If you got it into the lens pointing to direct sunshine. So once you've been to the property and taken all the photos, the photos are downloaded onto your app from the camera, and then the app actually helps to send them back up to the hosting service, where again all the stitching software is actually hosted. And here all we're doing really is we're on the platform. This is the first step. We've got the pictures, and you can see that all the pictures look a bit distorted, obviously, because you've kind of got the whole, you've got everything you've got behind you, in front of you, and the camera that I've got, it's got a lens on both sides, so you are literally capturing everything. So what you're doing here is you're naming the rooms before you go any further. And so once you've got done that stage, you then add navigation links, as we saw on the other property that I showed you earlier. And so you have to think as you go along, and taking the photos a kind of logical progression through the property. So you're not just taking the pictures in the rooms, but you're taking pictures in the corridors, because you are stepping through that property. And so you can put the navigation links wherever you like, wherever it makes sense to you. And you can change the color of those links as well. A blue on this one, but it's up to you. You can change it to fit in with your particular color scheme. And then it's really good maybe for estate agents, letting agents, or your own brand. You can set up your logo. And as I was saying, on the other tour, you can show your links off to your website and social media and so on. So we just see, again, you've got the logo over there, top left-hand corner. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the contact details. And for agents, this is quite a good feature, because you can actually superimpose this little contact form over the tour. So it will actually give you the opportunity to contact the people who are looking at your tour, or at least make sure that they register the details before they look at the tour. And then you can get feedback from them as to whether they're interested, or afterwards what they've thought of the property. And once you've got your tour set up, you can use it on the major portals. You can use the link in emails, on websites, obviously. I think if I'm right, booking.com and Airbnb, I think they're a bit behind the game at the moment, because I don't think you can embed the tour. But all you would do is, once you've got the inquiry, you just send them the link. So there's always a way. And yeah, that's me, Alan Webb, property matchmaker. And if I can help anybody in any way or just give advice, then I'm more than happy to do so. So thanks everyone for listening to me, and thanks, Hayley, for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we do have some questions for you. Can you stick around for a few minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Brilliant. Okay, right. So as we spoke earlier, and as you know, a lot of our investors are international, so investing from their own country of residence into the UK and their property portfolio. So we've got a few questions around that, but I'll come to those in a minute. So we'll go in order, just to be fair. So Helen has asked a question: what is the product cost for a 1-bed, 2-bed, and 3-bed buy-to-let? So a standard buy-to-let.
What to do a virtual tour?
To do a virtual for you to actually. So Helen is based in Sweden, investing here in the UK. So what's the typical cost for this type of for this type of service?
Well, I charge £99 for 3-bed, and then it's every additional bedroom is £25 on top. And then there's a third-party hosting fee. If you come through me, I'm charging £15 for 2 years, and you can then renew it after that. Hopefully a similar price. It's likely to be. It's down to the third-party provider, really. But
perfect, fantastic. That's very, very good, very competitive as well. So of course you're based in Birmingham, and I know that this is going to come up. As our investors invest all over the UK, is there any kind of do you cover the whole of the UK, or is it just Birmingham and the Black Country? And
yeah, I mean, I tend to cover the Midlands area. I can potentially go further afield. Either there's two ways of doing it, really. I can either charge a little bit extra in terms of mileage and time, or else for example, Made Snappy that I use, I think they have photographers around the country as well. So either of those options, really.
That was kind of what I was coming to. So if we've got virtual tours for serviced accommodation or student lets in Scotland, it's not financially viable at £99.
I'm a bit disappointed. I thought I might be getting a trip to Sweden then for a minute, where Helen is.
Well, it's, anything's possible, or everything's a business trip when you become a property investor, isn't it?
That's right.
But yeah. So of course, I think, regardless of the fact of where you guys are investing, Alan would be able to sort out either a photographer in that area, or of course just a smaller fee on top to be able to still carry out that service for you. But predominantly Birmingham, the Black Country, the Midlands area is the areas that Alan would cover.
Yeah.
That was Helen's asked that question. So if you're international investors and not on site and they can't do it themselves, would you go to other areas in order to for them to get access to this service? So Mike's asked a question here. He says, I think virtual tours are the future, but what value or value level of the property does it become worth doing a virtual tour, assuming of course, they cannot do it themselves because they're abroad. So Mike's actually in Sweden also.
Yeah.
got quite a lot of Swedish people on today. So yes, I think it's relatively cheap, isn't it? Anyway, yeah. I mean, if you look at the service that you get and the quality of the product that you receive, the way that, of course, reduces the amount of time and viewings and things like that for your lettings agency or estate agency, and the quality of the person that actually turns up to the property as a result of having this information up front, they already know what they're viewing, so their expectations are already set. So if they're turning up, they're likely to buy, basically. So it does reduce all of that time. It looks very professional. We use them on our HMOs, and we find them very, very useful. And it cuts down the amount of no-shows for viewings as well. Yeah, which is and people that are just kicking tires and wasting time.
I think the payback is quite quick, really, to be honest.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And £99 is one of the cheapest that I've ever seen. You might want to look at that. And that's good as well so I've used the Matterport many times as well. Before I was aware of obviously the service that you provide. The hosting fee is very interesting. A lot of people don't actually consider that, do they? And I know that I've had them done before in the past, before and then after, and there is a limit on how long that link is live and how long you can have access to it, of which I must admit when I first started having them done, I wasn't aware of. So the fact that it's £15 to host that for 2 years, that's very good as well, I think. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Let's have a look. So Anne's asked a question. So Anne's based in, if I remember from memory, Australia, I'm going to say. Tell me if I'm wrong, Anne. I apologize if that's... Oh, actually, sorry. Not Australia. No, yes, Australia. I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anne. So Anne's asked a question: does it work in confined spaces, so very small spaces? Is it still as good a quality? Do you find it less?
Yeah, I think there's two aspects to that. I think they do work. I mean, you've seen or just quickly saw the ensuite bathroom and it worked fine in that. But if you've got things like cupboards or whatever, large cupboards, then all I tend to do is I do a photograph of it, and then you can put it as an information point. When I showed the garage picture link on that tour, you can actually take a picture of inside whatever the cupboards, wardrobes, and you can just have a little image, and that works better than having trying to do a little tour. That's the best approach to use for that.
Brilliant. I actually think, I mean, definitely from seeing, he's seen some awful pictures from estate agencies and lettings agencies of ensuite rooms. Always tend to be, of course, they tend to be smaller in nature anyway, and always have rubbish pictures as far as I'm concerned, or you get just the mirror or just the the towel rail or something, some feature of some sort, not the actual room. So I actually find that these types of virtual tours allow you to move around that room, which actually you get a much better feel for the space.
Yeah, you do. You just need to make sure, especially the smaller rooms, that they've got as much light in them as possible. That's the thing. I switch all your lights on when you're taking the photos. Helps so much better, and obviously do it on bright day at least. It doesn't have to be a sunny day, but a bright day anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. So Laura, who is in Australia, I'm having brain fog this morning. Actually, it might be New Zealand. Actually, it's one of the two. So morning, Laura. I haven't spoken to you for a long time. Really, really great to see you online. So Laura has actually put a comment in there. So virtual tours are great and solved a problem that she recently had. So perhaps let us know what that problem was, Laura, and we can share it with the group. So we've got Daniel. And Daniel is saying, thank you for the presentation. What are the property matchmakers.co.uk criteria of funds for the property deals? Fair market value, below market value, loan to value, minimum loan, deal type, etc. Is there any I know that there's no one size fits all, but as a gauge, what type of loan to value interest are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the equity deals, I'm not sure whether that's particularly what Daniel's referring to, but the equity, you might have a senior debt of say 65%, and then the equity can come in and take up to 98, 100% potentially. Yeah. There's finance for all sorts of other properties that can be arranged. So, you've got all your standard buy-to-let products and bridging products and so on. I've just tried to give a bit of a flavour of what the equity finance approach was, because that's a little bit different to the norm.
Yeah, brilliant. So, I mean, if these guys have got deals that, of course, they do have senior debt on, and they're looking at, perhaps looking for help with the renovation or anything like that, it's definitely worth them reaching out to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in terms of initial purchase, so if you're looking at, a full development product, do you do that, like bridge to development finance and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of different solutions, really. So I think the easiest thing to say is if you've got an outline of the deal and you just want to let us know, there's usually a way to do it.
And of course, that's the cost of that and loan to values, etc. terms, and it's all going to change, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say it really depends on the deal itself, the expertise, but it's not just confined to doing finance for experienced people, inexperienced people as well. But obviously the terms might be slightly different for in that circumstance.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So I think that's all of the questions that we have. So I'm going to say thank you ever so much. It was an absolute pleasure, and we did okay, didn't we, for your first one? I think so. Gold star for you. No, that was brilliant, Alan. I think that it's very, very useful and definitely something that our investors need to be looking into. Both not only the access to additional funding and the option to be able to have that conversation with you and run through a deal to see what's available to them. As internationals or UK, we've got both on the call today, and of course we have lots of people that listen on YouTube as well. But the virtual tour is not something that many people think about, but actually really does add value to your business, sells properties quicker, reduces the amount of time, and conversion rate is much higher with tenants, etc., because they know what they're getting, and it really does promote a professional outlet, I think, and definitely a fan of it. Well, I am anyway, which is why you're here. So, but no, I'm going to say thank you ever so much.
Thanks very much.
You can actually leave if you want to. You're more than welcome to stay on. You won't affect anything here. You can just click off your link. But I'm going to stop sharing your slides now. I'm going to say thank you very much. If you could if you are staying on, if you could pop your camera off and pop yourself on mute, that would be perfect. And I'm going to go through the market update with you guys and then share some additional stuff that we have going on this month. So let me find my slides. Where are we? So I'm going to pop off camera. I know that everybody's been waiting for the January kind of what's the housing market doing and all things like that. I know that when we spoke in December, it was kind of like, oh, it should all become clear in January. I'm not sure whether that's what I'm going to deliver, but I'm going to deliver a market update for you now, and we will take questions at the end as well. And of course, Alan is staying on. So if you do want to ask any questions to Alan, or you can think of anything through while we're going through the update, pop them in the chat box and we'll cover them off then. So house price predictions then. So what does the future hold for the UK housing market? That's $1 billion question, isn't it? So let's look at things logically. There's a few factors that could put a dampener on the unbelievable growth the UK housing market has experienced over the last year. Those are, to name a few, tax hikes, inflation, interest rate rises, etc., etc. So let's look at a few of those. So tax hikes could help to dampen the economy growth. Inflation looks set to squeeze the personal finances and job stability as well, which could in turn prevent people from buying. But one of the main things that or the main factors influencing house price predictions from all of the experts in 2022 is the likely movement up in interest rates. And I think everybody will agree on that. Interest rates rises by just 1% could cause house prices to plunge by a fifth. So it is something that we need to pay attention to. So experts believe the biggest risk factor which could cause house prices to go down in 2022 is unexpected interest rates hikes. So with all of the above being said, it seems highly unlikely that the bank would risk destabilising, the Bank of England would risk destabilising an already fragile economy with unexpected rate hikes. So any change will be phased in and timed perfectly, in my opinion. Banks are likely, banks are actually still increasingly willing to lend, which is fantastic news, and on or at a higher loan to value, or at higher loan to values. Although we have seen the cheapest mortgage deals slowly disappearing, there's still plenty out there, and competitively priced mortgages should continue to support the housing prices throughout 2022. So we know what to watch out for, or what to keep our eyes on at least. So what's that? What do we predict then for 2022? So the resilience of the UK property market has surprised most of us over the course of 2021, and I and many other property investors and many of our property investors have continued to expand our portfolios. Some have diversified into areas such as short-term rentals and holiday lets, or higher yielding strategies such as your HMOs, etc. And then your vanilla buy-to-lets, and I think that's been a common trend throughout the last 12 months. This has been, of course, to protect themselves and their investments against fluctuations in the market conditions and interest rate rises, voids, etc., etc. So the list will go on. And to me, all of this makes perfect sense. So while momentum has begun to return to more normal levels, most experts forecast or predict a stable property market going forward, which is good news for buyers and investors alike. Rightmove believes average asking prices will increase by 5% in 2022. And so at a much slower pace. There may be more housing stock coming to the market too, which will make things easier for buyers and help with the sheer lack of supply of new listings coming to the market. As we know, and we've spoken about many times before, the sheer lack of supply of new listings is at a record low, at least a record low over the last decade anyway. So Rightmove stated that it saw a 19% increase in the number of people requesting estate agent valuations as people look at listing their properties for sale this year. So that's great news. More stock to the market means less competition, more for everybody to buy, and it's simple rules of supply and demand. What's really keeping the housing market so high at this moment in time, in my opinion, is the sheer lack of supply, which means that although demand has dropped off, the demand still outstrips the current supply available, which is really stabilising the housing market here in the UK, along with, of course, low interest rates, etc., and plentiful lending. My take on all of this is we will see more stock coming to the market. Demand will remain high, but prices will stabilize to more normal market conditions and a more normal market growth pace. Lending is plentiful still. Just be sensible, stress test interest rates or fix your call, and don't over leverage. In my opinion, anything over 75%, and Alan may disagree with me here, and depends on obviously the type of investment that you are doing, but anything over 75% is highly geared, loan to value, that is, and for God's sakes, keep a war chest. Remember, cash is king. Lastly, and I'm going to stress this point. One of the things I see most people get wrong. So the last comment that I'm going to make here on this particular section is never ever question demand. Know the demand. Understand the current supply and know who your competition is, and don't get caught with buying cheap properties and with high voids in a saturated market. So make sure that you're understanding who your audience is, you understand who your competition is, you understand that current supply and demand in your micro area, because it does change. You can't look at Manchester, for example, and say, oh, HMOs work great in Manchester. There's actually parts of Manchester where HMOs don't work at all, or the market is saturated, and that's the same with Liverpool, Birmingham, London, everywhere. So you always have to make sure that you understand that. So if there's one tip that I can give you, my January 2022 advice would be never ever question the demand. Know that market. So which areas will fare best then? So according to Rightmove, there are 4 key areas that are proving popular among buyers right now. These are Scotland, the West Midlands, the South West, and Yorkshire and the Humber. The Portal believes these areas could see around 7% house price growth in 2022. Not particularly in my top 3. I'd go with Nottingham, West Midlands and Southampton. But really it comes down to what do you want from your investment areas, and what's really driving investment in that area. So it's a question you have to ask yourself. Interestingly enough, other housing market predictions have placed the Northwest top of the list of places to expect the biggest house price growth. The Northwest region has led the way in recent years, as many of us know, as it's become a more desirable place to live and invest. In the main, down to ongoing regeneration and redevelopment, this coupled with, of course, a surge of big businesses and companies relocating there, such as BBC expansion with Media City UK. It's all about the Northern Powerhouse, especially in Greater Manchester, and all this boasting employment prospects and attracting more higher earners and professionals to those areas. But look, it's all about what do you want. I've just given you 3 different areas. My areas are different to the other expert areas, and it's all just experts' opinions at the end of the day, and all of them actually contradict one another. So you have to research the area you want to invest, identify why you want to invest there, because that's what works for you, and what works for you might not work for the next person, might not work for me, might not work for Alan, Laura, and so we all want something different out of our investments, and that's the question we have to ask ourselves. What do we want to get out of our investments? And then we make sure that the area delivers that for us. Everyone thinks I'm nuts because I'm not a fan of Manchester. Sorry, I'm not. For any of you Manchester United fans out there, I'm simply not a fan. 5 years ago, Manchester to me was the place to invest. But I think now the prices have soared so much that now you're buying at a premium price. And to me, that says that that ship has sailed. And there are now better places to invest that offer equal demand and high yields at more affordable prices. So many of you may disagree, and that's okay. That's the point with an opinion. We all have one, and it's fine that they are different as well. It's not one size fits all. All I'm saying is there are other places to invest outside of the major cities such as London, Manchester, or even central Birmingham to some extent as well, where you can get more bang for your buck, great cash flow, decent capital and decent capital appreciation year on year. And of course, we know that that's the icing on the cake. So investigate, don't be lazy, don't just rely on experts' opinions, do your own due diligence before you part with your cash. At the end of the day, it's your cash, it's your business, it's your investment. So make sure that it stacks up for you. So a quick update on the rental market, and this write-up was from Seven Capital as well. So UK rental market in 2022, with news breaking in 21 that renting was officially cheaper than buying in terms of monthly payments. The rental market has continued to grow from strength to strength. We know that, and we've spoken about that throughout last year. My portfolio runs at 98% occupancy, and it's been very much the story for most people that have purchased and done the due diligence properly in their areas and checked the demand out. We're seeing more and more applications per property than ever before. So JLL expect the rental prices will grow by 9.5% by 2025. As the UK market continues to grow alongside increased demand, this is following on from exceptional price rises in a number of UK regions across the country, with the UK economy faring better than expected in terms of unemployment and GDP growth. The UK property market forecast suggests that this rental growth is sustainable going forward. So that's great news. So yes, we are paying more money for our properties, but we are able to rent them out at a higher figure as well. So the yields on those properties or investments haven't changed that much, really. Perhaps do this exercise for me or for yourself. So check out the average rental for 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 beds, whatever it is you invest in 2020. And I'm saying 2020 because it was more kind of, 2019, 2020, more normal kind of market conditions before, it all went crazy. So check out what the rental, average rental value was for the types of properties in your area in 2020, and check out the average sold and purchase prices in that area as well, and work out what your yield is, and then do that now and see how it's changed. I'd be interested to see what your feedback would be. I know that looking at the areas that I invest in, it hasn't changed that much. Rent has increased, and yes, although we are purchasing at a higher price, we're still achieving the same yields. So do that little exercise. It's a good way for you to be able to kind of compare, because I know that many people are holding off buying, and many of you that have held off buying are probably kicking yourself now because the market has continued to go up. And I understand why you would have done that. And but as I've said many times before, it's not about timing the marketplace correctly. So Alan was very lucky by getting in there and getting started at the bottom of the market, and he rode that wave, and that's great. We want to buy when the market's low, sell when the market's high, or refinance, and that is fantastic. But we are active property investors, and active property investors invest, and so we may be buying different things now and looking at different strategies as a result of buying at a more premium price, and factoring in stress testing interest rates and things like that to protect ourselves as investors, but we're still actively investing, and I think that's the most important part. As I said, I've still been investing throughout the whole of this COVID malarkey, and I know many people that have, and I'd encourage you to just look at the situation, find out what finance is available to you, make sure the deal stacks up, stress test, put contingencies in place, and you're as safe as you possibly can be. Me and any other expert out there, Alan will agree as well, you can minimize your risk as much as you possibly can. You can't take it away altogether. There's risk in everything we do. So just an extension onto that then. So landlords' concerns and things to watch out for, really, and really what's been the topic of conversation. So EPCs, so energy performance certificates, is a huge topic at this moment in time, and could potentially be a big issue for landlords and investors alike. Current rating is, of course, E, but there has been an announcement that has indicated that the direction of travel will be a C rating. It was originally set for or talked about coming into force by 2025. Due to concerns, there is talk now that that date will be pushed back to 2026 for all new tenants, and 2028 for existing tenants as well. It's definitely coming, so there is no question about that. It's here. It's not in place immediately, but it's coming. So we need to start preparing for it. This is something that you guys need to be looking at. It's definitely coming. So we need to focus and be clear about the funding that's going to be available, the grants that's likely to be available, likely exemptions as well that may be available to us as landlords. We need to understand all of that so we can assess our portfolios, our current portfolios, but also future purchases as well, really paying attention to that potential of the energy performance of those particular properties. You don't want to get caught buying a property that's going to be cheaper for you to knock it down or just sell it and move on as a result of you not being able to bring it up to this level. And only by doing that can we understand our risk and exits. We can plan for that. Okay, so definitely start looking at that now. Also high on the topic of conversations still is, of course, the rental reform and the abolishment of the Section 21 no-fault evictions, lifetime deposits and longer-term tenancies, etc., all of which should come into play this year. Lots of change. There's been lots of change in our industry over the last 10 years, and what we have to do is adopt and change with those changes and really look at how do we make the most out of it and become more and more professional. Lots of people don't like change, and that means lots of people leave the industry as a result of it. So for those of you that stick it out and work with those changes, it can actually be a positive thing. And for those of you that are professional and remain in the industry, which I'm hoping would be all of you, you will see that this is, if I got out of the industry every time there was a change, I wouldn't have been in the industry as long as I have. I'd have been out of it within the first couple of years. So change is sometimes actually good. But really in the main, or the main areas that I'm focusing on is the replacement of the Section 21. I want to know, as a landlord, how do I regain possession of my assets should I need to, because this decision could change the face of the rental or of our rental properties. So, or how I invest or how we invest overall. So we really need, that's the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on when that white paper is released. So tax, or more specifically, buy-to-let tax has also been high on the list of conversations. It's been a tough pill to swallow for our high earners, landlords that own in their own personal names, with many of them either selling up, restructuring or repurposing their properties to maximise their returns. If you are in this position, I'd highly recommend you speaking with a tax advisor, financial advisor, a property related expert there to look at the options that are available to you. There are lots of options available, so don't feel like you have to be in the position that you are in. Hopefully most of you are not in that position, because we would have talked about structure, sat you down with a financial advisor, etc., when you come through our training and mentorship program. So this has been talked about for years now, so it's not new news to us, so we should have all prepared for this. But if you're new coming in, or perhaps wasn't aware of it, then definitely sit down with an expert and understand how you can get around that and a better structure for you to be able to deal with that. So, of course, we had the Christmas periods. We've had questions that have come in over the Christmas period and New Year break. So I'm going to go off a few of those now, and then we'll jump onto your questions as well. So one of the questions, we've had this, actually multiple people that have sent this through have said, should I be given a personal guarantee? Is this the norm for a limited company structure? And the answer is yes. So, you know, while there's more products out there, lenders are more flexible, and we've got access to better lending, lenders have also looked at their risk as well, and they are looking at, well, okay, we want a personal guarantee. And you know, this is not new. I've been given personal guarantees for years, and maybe Alan can comment as well. I'm sure he would have as well. And with the, you know, the lenders that he works with, it's quite common to ask for a personal guarantee. And many people will say, you know, well, what's the point in a limited company structure if it's not limited liability? It is common for a personal guarantee, and sometimes the debenture as well. I'd recommend not giving the debenture, but I have done that in the past. But it is normal for you to be giving a personal guarantee, and normally that will be 10% of the loan amount. So be prepared for that. Another question that comes through was, should I buy freehold or leasehold with the cladding issues and scrapping of the ground rents, etc.? So as we've spoken about again many times before, I personally think, or I personally would rather buy freehold. So it is, of course, it's not to say that I don't buy leasehold, I do, but I understand what I'm buying. You know, I understand if there's any issues around the cladding, etc., fire breaks, all things that, you know, that have kind of come into place. If there's, I'm understanding, you know, the lease, the extensions, things like that. I understand all of that. I understand what I'm buying. So you understand your risk. You know what you're buying. I think that's the most important thing. Ground rent, of course, has been scrapped. And there's been, you know, a reform of the lease system as well. So you just need to be aware of what it is you're buying. Your conveyancing solicitor will be able to talk you through all of this as well. You can have a read of the lease. You can look at the lease length. You can understand the service charges, and of course, there's ground rent is no more. So preferably we would buy freehold. You don't have any of those issues. I personally won't be, you know, so I do divide and conquer quite a lot, where I'll buy a property, split it up, do title creation, put leases in place, etc., and retain the freehold. I don't think that that's a strategy I do moving forward. There really is no value in holding that freehold anymore. So because of the lease extensions and things like that being looked at and monitored and controlled, I don't think that that's beneficial anymore. So yeah, be careful of that. Of course, just my opinion. The idea here is to understand what it is you're buying, understand the risk around that, be fully informed before you financially commit yourself and legally commit yourself. Another question is, the conveyancing process seems to be taking a very long time, even for cash purchases. How long should it really take? So this is, you know, a common complaint we've had since the beginning of lockdown, because of the stamp duty holiday, the sheer number of transactions and the sheer lack of professionals to be able to carry out this, and the overload on individual, you know, on the conveyancing solicitors, etc., and all of that, you know, sector. There has been a huge backlog. So this, you know, this is, you know, something that we've had to live with over the last few years. So it's not new, but the average time for a transaction to go through from start to finish, regardless of whether it's cash purchase or cash sale, well, I'm finding that it's 3-4 months. So just be prepared for that. Make sure you're calculating that when you're looking, if you're on bridging loans or anything, and you flip in a property, make sure that you're factoring in that additional time just to make sure that you're covered. Another question, or last thing that was brought to my attention, I found this quite funny actually, on a trending topic on property tribes. I don't know whether any of you are part of that, but definitely, become part of that platform. With the questions being, what was your worst financial decision ever? So there was a lot of different, some very funny, some very serious, but it's really a conversation. So the answers, as I said, were very funny on this topic. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Actually, pop them in the chat box. Feel free. It is private, so nobody can see all of your bloopers and things like that. So pop it in the chat box and let me know what yours is. I'd be interested to have a read of those later on. And join the conversation. But anyway, top of the list was buying off plan, and I'm not a fan of buying off plan. I thought this was very interesting. As I always say, buying off plan is very high risk in my opinion, and I strongly recommend against it. I see it as a gamble for property investors, and I've spoken about it many times before. Many of you know me, and many of you will probably be sick of me banging on about it. But the other thing on the list, which I find very funny, was getting married. I would have thought that getting divorced would be far more expensive. I know that it would be for me. So getting married for me, I rocked up at the register office with 2 witnesses, and that was about it. So it didn't cost, it wasn't a financial burden on me getting married. Getting divorced, on the other hand, would definitely be. So on a high note, guys, everything's looking good. The market is slowing down slightly. The demand's still there because of the lack of supply, but there is more and more properties coming to the market, as Rightmove predicted, and Rightmove suggested that you've got 70% higher people requesting valuations through estate agents, etc. So those properties will hopefully filter it through to the market this year. So that's all good news. So we're going to see a more stable market. I do think that we're going to see the growth slow down. It is still crazy out there. You're not likely to be buying massively below market value unless you are direct to vendor, or creating that win-win situation, or it still happens. I'm still doing it. So the opportunity is out there, but you are going to get more no's. It's all about volume. Get your offers out there, and that's most certainly what our sourcing agents are doing, what I'm doing, and what you should be doing as well. So if you do have any questions about the property update, please do pop them in the chat box. I can see that some have been coming through. We'll pop on and have a look at them now, and then we'll jump into what's happening next. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Fairly broad market update there. Wanted to kind of highlight to you just what's going on right now. So I'm going to go through your questions. So thank you for the question. So we've got only a few questions here. So which section was it that was to change? So section 20, I think you're referring to the rental reform, Helen. So the section 21, so section 21 is a no fault eviction. So it is for a clear, sure way for landlords to be able to gain possession of their properties. That they are looking at abolishing that, and that's looking likely to come in this year. If they abolish that, really what we are paying attention to as landlords is how do we gain possession of our property, and are they going to look at the other sections such as section 8, section 10, etc. So we need to understand how we can regain possession of our property, if we can regain possession of our property in a no fault scenario, and what conditions will be around that. So the clear path, we need to understand how we can regain possession of our property should we need to in any shape or form. So we've got another question here from Mike. Investing in a hotel in Thailand via someone I used to trust, also off plan. Ouch. Sorry about that, Mike. No, I mean off plan. I mean, there's a question here. What do you mean by off plan? So buying off plan is buying the idea of the building. So you're buying before there's actually something there or something built. It's not finished. And so you're right there. If you're right there at the beginning where you've got developers, that are unsure of where they should be sitting in the market, etc., there are actually opportunity for you to make money. I find that if you are buying off plan, you either need to buy right at the very beginning or at the end where they've actually made their, they've sold the bulk of the development and they're now looking to get out because the last part is their kind of profit, and they're selling in bulk at a discounted price. Those are the two scenarios that may work. I know people that have done very well out of buying off plan. I've purchased off plan one time before and still own those properties in my portfolio today, and they're actually only just worth what I paid for them, and that was just before the crash, 2007. So you are more vulnerable to market fluctuations, market conditions when you're buying at a premium price and you're buying a new product when you're buying off plan. So you are paying a premium price. You're buying a brand new property. And so arguably I'd say that's not how we invest. We want to be buying below market value, adding value, forcing appreciation, excuse me, refinancing or selling, or development, full-blown development, and selling off plan ourselves, not buying it. We want to make that profit. So I would say you're buying at a premium price. Be careful. And Mike, hopefully, you've purchased at the right time and purchased at the right price. So it's all about what do we purchase the properties for, really. So just check that out. So I'm not saying that off plan never works. I know lots of people, as I said, that where it has, but I know more people where it's gone wrong. And you are more vulnerable, especially in markets like this. So Mike's put another question here. That was my worst financial decision. Oh, right. Okay. Apart from the 2 divorces. See, getting divorced is expensive, guys. Make sure that you make the right decision before you get married. I think do you due diligence on your life partner as you do on your investment portfolio? So I don't have any more questions coming through. It's been great to see you all online again, and it's been great to be back as well. I've actually missed this. We've got a few events and a few dates that I'd like you to save in your diary. So I'll start off with a Property Success Convention. This is free for you to attend. It is a 2-day event. It's on a Saturday and Sunday. It's held at our training organisation in the north of Birmingham. You can attend live or virtual via Zoom. If you are international, of course, you may want to attend via Zoom. If you're in the UK, I very much recommend you to come and see us. Come and see the training facility, have a walk around some of our developments during the lunch break. We have several on that street, and it's a great way for you to kind of meet us and understand what we're all about, really. The 2 days is jam-packed full. So we've got, we cover market cycles, we cover all elements of strategies. You can actually go away after the 2 days and implement the training that we cover. Lots of people have attended that are on the call now, and many of you attend more than once and still learn something the second time, the third time, the fourth time. So there's always something new that we're covering. It is general expert insights from our 19 years in the industry, and it's a jam-packed full 2 days, and I guarantee that you walk away more confident, learning something new, even if you are an active property investor, with access to better people, understanding the industry overall better. So get booked onto that. So Helen, yes, Helen's attended many times and she learns something new every single time, don't you, Helen? Thank you. So then we have John Howard's Comprehensive Advanced Property Developing and Investing 2-day seminar. So John is a phenomenal guy. I've got a lot of time for him. I get on with him very well. Real good, genuine person. No fluff and buff, exactly what it says on the tin. He's one of the UK's largest developers to date. He's done over 4,000 property purchases and sales. He was part of for a decade part of I forgot, Auction House, I think it is. I should know that, shouldn't I? So he knows his stuff, is what I'm trying to say. He's been in the industry for 40 years. So there's not much that he doesn't know. And this 2 days is really set around pushing your business to that next level, getting access to him, his joint venture funds, understanding how to structure those deals, understanding development, commercial to residential, commercial property overall, buying in auction, which I find fascinating. He is phenomenal. Some of the best tips I've ever heard. And I absolutely think that it's a fantastic weekend. So that is, he has an event which is on Saturday the 12th, or Saturday and Sunday the 12th and 13th of February. Again, we would love you to attend in person, but you can do virtual if that is an issue for you. You also get access to his series of books. Of course, John is a TV personality. He's the lead angel for Property Elevator. He's the lead person with £1 million joint venture fund for the Property Graduate, which is all on Sky. And of course, he's one of the co-panelists for Property Question Time. And I've been on that panel with him many, many times. So absolutely fantastic weekend. So if you're looking to move your business to the next level, this is really for experienced investors that have done, you know, a few deals. They want to now move into more higher risk strategies, look at the higher end of the risk pyramid, and really start accelerating their business. And then, of course, we have Property TV. So I'm a regular on Property TV, Sky Channel 191 on Property Question Time. We also have Property Matters. So this is the first time I've done this show, but I'm on Property Matters talking about property education and the industry and training courses, etc., and really what to look out for, how to really understand the training organization before you part with your cash, and minimize your risk as much as possible. So we're doing a show and it's called Property Matters. It's on Sky 191 on the 25th of January, and that's at 8:30 UK time in the evening. And then, of course, we have on our YouTube channel, I've done many of those shows, so you can just pick up that show, Property Question Times, and watch all of the previous episodes as well. So some great information, some great questions that come through to the audience. And of course, we're on with different experts all the time, and you get different feel of different types of personalities, different ways to invest, different opinions on, you know, different topics, which is great, really varied, and I love being part of that show. Of course, we're still doing our consultation calls as well. So we've opened these back up now this year. So if you'd like, I've got one after this call. So I know that some of you have already started booking in. If you would like a free consultation call with myself or one of the YFE mentors, you can book that through our website, off the Education Hub option menu, book a call, and that will come through to us. And of course, this is really if you're wanting to discuss anything to do with your property journey. That's whether you are brand new starting out or whether you're actually already actively investing and you really want someone's opinion on that, an expert's opinion. And it's our way of really being able to help you. It is free. There's no sales pitch or anything like that. I think that's why it's been so popular. It really is just the option to be able to have a conversation with an expert. And then just another couple of dates for you. So the next At Home with Hayley is on the 4th of February at 9 o'clock UK time. Let us know what topics you would like to cover. Of course, we always do the market update, but we have different guests in all the time. We are planning that for this year now. So if you would like any particular part or any particular person, let us know. We'll get them on the show so that we can... well, this is forever free and it's for you. So we want to make sure that we're delivering. And then the only other date that I need you guys to pop into your diary, for those of you that are part of Your Freedom Empire and part of our support alumni, so that have had any sort of training with us, we have then the January support alumni session on the 21st. So the third Friday of January. And so pop that in your diary as well. I know that you get the replays, but it's great for you to be live. It's more interactive. You can ask questions. We have different experts on different topics, etc. So, and it's great for you to be able to, if you've got a deal as well, we do deal clinics through those support studios. If you want to specifically talk about a deal, send it through to us. We can prepare that for you and have that conversation with the group. So again, you get different people's opinions, different experts' opinions, and a mastermind. That's really what it's all about. So get that booked into your diary. So of course, those dates are all out there. We hope to see you on the events. And if you have any questions about it, of course, you can email admin@yourfreedomempire.co.uk and we can address them as they come along. So I don't think we have any more questions coming through. I've got lots of thank yous, Happy New Year's and things like that. Thank you ever so much. It's great to be back. Hopefully you enjoyed today's session. I'm going to say thank you ever so much. I'll see you on the 4th of February. Have a fantastic month. Any questions in the meantime, email us. But I love you and leave you. And I'll say have an awesome weekend. I can't have pizza because I'm on a diet, unfortunately, because I ate and drank far too much over Christmas. But I had a great time, so that's good. So I'm just going to obviously graze on something tonight, but have a family night as usual. Have an awesome Friday. Excellent weekend, guys. And I'll see you again next month. Goodbye for now.